Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Today's recipe that I'm sharing is for a creamy coconut sweet corn chowder. It's really simple, really fresh, really easy, perfect for weeknights, perfect for any night of the week. It's inspired by a Thai corn chowder, but I took my own spin on it, made a couple adjustments here and there, and it's really, really delicious and perfect for the home cook. Let's get into the ingredients. What you see in front of me is what I'm going to be using. This is a sweet corn coconut creamy chowder. Okay, say that 5 times fast. Um, and so what we're going to be using is some sweet corn. So to make this super simple, I'm using frozen corn. You could use fresh, you could even use canned. It just depends on what your budget is and what the availability is. But I'm using frozen organic sweet corn. And this is 1 pound. We're going to be using the entire pound. And if you look at the serving sizes, it says that a serving size is 1/2 cup, and there are 5 servings in this bag. So that means there are about 2.5 cups in here. So 2.5 cups, 1 pound, whatever helps you do the math you need to do. I think this is going to make probably four to 5 servings, depending on how much you like to eat. So yeah, we got our sweet corn, key. Another key component of this recipe, because it's in the title, is coconut milk. So I have some full fat coconut milk here. And this, I mean, the brand matters actually. If you don't want a whole bunch of extra thickeners and gums and stuff in your coconut milk, which you tend to see in canned coconut milk, you want to look for an organic brand. This is from Thrive Market, but you can totally get them in the stores. I bought it because it was on sale, so I stocked up. It was under $2 a can, so I said, let me grab that. So I got several cans. But yeah, we're just using a full fat organic coconut milk. And then getting into flavors, textures, body, right, to make this filling. We're going to be using 1 large russet potato. It's been semi-peeled by me. We're going to be using some red onion. Now I've used shallots, I've used green onion, I've used sweet yellow onion. I just have red onion. That's all the onion I have in my house today. So we're using what we have. And I would say this is going to come up to maybe like a 1/4 cup diced. We're using the juice of 1 lemon to give it a little bit of tang to balance out all that sweet and creaminess we've got going on. We're going to be using a thumb of fresh ginger. We're also going to be using some avocado just to top it off. This is not traditional, but it's just something I like to do. I've noticed a lot of my last few recipes have avocado in there at some point because I like it. But I do have some dishes not using avocado. It's completely optional, but I just think it tops it off real nice. To get into more veggies, we're going to be adding some carrots in. And then to finish this off, we're going to be using some fresh cilantro that we're going to chop to add a little bit of heat. We've got 2 jalapeños here. Jalapeños are kind of a toss-up. Sometimes they are just like completely spice neutral. They're not spicy at all. Sometimes they got a little kick to them. So we'll see what we got today. But I'm going to use 2 jalapeños. And then for a little bit more flavor, we're going to be using some garlic powder. You could use fresh minced garlic, but I don't have that. So we're using garlic powder today. And then some vegetable broth concentrate. So you could just use vegetable broth. I like buying concentrates because they take up less space in my fridge. The packaging they use is much smaller. You just, this 1 container has like 48 servings. So I don't have to keep going out buying broth over and over again. And it also just saves a lot of space on packaging. So if you're eco-conscious at all and that matters to you, consider buying broth concentrates. This one is the Maggie brand, but I just picked up the Better Than Bouillon. Honestly, this is the one I love. This is the best one out, but it's not open yet. So we're going to stick with this. This is delicious. It's solid, but Better Than Bouillon all day, every day. And then to add a little bit more protein, some nice texture, we're going to have some tofu. So the tofu is going to be nice in this chowder because it's just going to absorb all of the delicious flavors of that broth, give you something a little bit more toothsome to chew on. So we have a beautiful variety of textures and flavors that are going to come together in this chowder. The tools you need are very, very simple. But I think to get started, I need to start getting my aromatics together. So I have my saucepan here. I'm going to get the handle out the way so it's not a safety hazard. I'm going to start heating that over medium heat. I'm going to pull my lid and set it right here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of oil to this pan. Okay. I say like 2 tablespoons, nothing crazy. You could use coconut oil and then that would just take the coconut flavor up another notch. which I'm a big fan of, but keeping it simple today. So I'm going to move some of these ingredients out of my way so I can go ahead and dice up my onion. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I'm going to do a pretty small dice on this. Yeah, like I said, I'm using red onion today. You could use green onion or scallions. You could use shallots. You could use some sweet yellow onion. All of those would be great options. But when in doubt, use what you have. And if you don't have fresh onion, you can use onion powder. Even if you do have fresh onion and you don't feel like dicing the onion, you can use onion powder. Like, it's fine. You're going to get those flavors in there. And what's nice about just swapping out different ingredients, I'm very much someone who likes to experiment. So I like to test out different ingredients just to see, like, how does it impact the outcome. So then you know what version you like the best. You know, you got to experiment a little bit to figure out what's your favorite. Because if you try it one way and stop there, even if you really enjoy it, I mean, if it means that much to you, stop there. But if you like to continue to test and you like to feel not like boxed in by recipes, improvise with what you have all day, every day. I will always suggest that. So next up, we're going to go in with our ginger. Okay. I'm just doing a very rough peel on this to get the skin off. Honestly, sometimes I just leave all the skin on and I just grate it in. But today I decided to go a bit of a different route. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab my grater. Let's grab our grater real quick because I need to grate my carrots anyway. All right, so here we go. Got our grater here. I'm going to go ahead and grate this ginger. And I don't know if you can hear, but our onion is starting to sizzle. So I had it on about medium-high heat. I'm going to shift it down to medium-low just because I don't want to feel rushed, okay? So we're going to go to our fine grate setting here. The nice thing about using the grater is the fibers of the ginger. I don't know if you see those. Those kind of get left on the other side, so they don't end up in your food. So you don't end up with stringy bits in your mouth when you're eating. So grater for the win. I love my gadgets, and I want to start using more of my gadgets in my recipes that I share here on Kids. Just, I don't know. I think it's fun. I have them. Why not use them? I'm definitely a blender girl all day, every day, but sometimes the manual gadgets are where it's at. Keep it simple, you know? Okay, so we have our grated ginger here, putting that in. Came up to about maybe a tablespoon. We're just going to stir that up. Okay, so we're going to let that continue to saute. And I think the next ingredient that we're going to work on here is our potato, because these need a bit of time to cook down. So I leave some of my peel on. I usually only take the peel off if it's looking especially tough. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and go in with our potatoes. I'm going to give these, not a super fine dice, but relatively small. And you'll notice that when I start putting the other ingredients in here, like the tofu, I'm going to use a similar size dice. So these are probably like, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch cubes that I'm doing here. And I love a chowder. You know, growing up and, well, for a long time, I'm not really a soup girl. I tend to be more of a stew girl. And so I think I definitely am in the chowder camp because it's chunky. It's got some broth, but it's not super brothy. You know, it's got some real substance to it. That's how I feel satisfied when I'm eating these brothy type of dishes. So chowder is A1 for me. And also I love the sweet corn chowder because it's like a perfect transitional soup for moving from summer to fall. It's got those fresh summer veggies that we find here in the States, right? But I don't know, it's not too spicy. It's fresh, it's sweet, it's creamy, it's lovely. So this is a beautiful transitional soup or stew to enjoy as you prepare for cooler weather. Maybe you're getting in that mindset. You want to feel cozy, but you're not trying to get too cozy. You want to be pre-cozy, semi-cozy. That's what we're on here with our sweet corn chowder today. And like I said, this is inspired by a Thai dish. So I had it actually for the first time in LA. I went to this restaurant called LA Vegan, and they had like American dishes and stuff, but they had a lot of Thai dishes, and I think it was in Culver City, but they had this delicious sweet corn chowder, and it had all these ingredients that I'm adding in today: the potatoes, the tofu, the carrots, the sweet corn, and coconut, obviously. But they served it inside of a fresh coconut. And so like you got bits of like the coconut flesh as you were eating out of the coconut too, and everything was just so fresh and beautiful. I'm pretty sure there was also like lemongrass in that recipe as well, but it was just so clean. And I feel like I ate that like in the middle of July in Southern California, so it was good and warm. It was very much warm outside. Um, I still think about that. And so that was probably in 2019, and it wasn't until maybe 2020, late 2020, 2021 that I finally like got up the courage or the motivation to be like, Jessica, you can do this. Give it a try. And so I kind of just worked from memory from the dish I had in the restaurant, and I've made it several times since then, and it's one of my favorite things to eat. I feel like I say that about every dish I've shared on Kitsch so far, that is one of my favorite things to eat, but it's all true. Like these are the dishes, like I cook a lot, I've made a lot of food. And yeah, I'm starting off with my strongest contenders for y'all. I wanted to give y'all the goods up front. So now we have our firm tofu. It's been pressed. And like I said, I'm cutting it into these similar cube sizes. Okay. And should I have used a bigger saucepan? Probably, but we're going to make it work today, because I'm not getting new pot dirty. We will stay the course. Okay, so let me give you a bit of a close-up this time. So here we go. Here's our tofu. You can see the size of the cubes here. Like I said, about half inch square. All right, so we're going to put that in, and we're just kind of let that set. We really want the heat to start working on the potatoes to tenderize those, but I don't want to start stirring the tofu in the pot around yet because it's delicate. So I want to get some more broth in the pot so that it stirs more easily. I don't want it falling apart or anything. Okay, so I think now is the time to work on our broth. Get this corn going, okay? So we have here 1 pound of corn. And what I'm going to do here is open it. And I'm going to pour about half of it into the pot. Like I said, and just let it sit. Because we do definitely want whole corn kernels in here. Maybe I'm pouring about 2/3 of it into the pot. So now I'm going to pour the rest into our blender. Okay. So about 1 cup of corn into the blender, 2.5 cups of corn, or excuse me, 1.5 cups of corn into our saucepan. Okay. Now we are going to go in. Let's put this with the lid on top as well. I'm going to trap the heat in there, trap the steam. So next we're going to go in with our can of coconut milk. I always wash my cans off before I use them, pour anything out of them, just because they can get a little icky in there. So we're going to put in this whole, how many ounces is this? 13.5 ounce can of full fat coconut milk on in here. Perfect. And then I'm going to go in with about half a can of water just to get any traces of that coconut milk out of the can. We don't want to leave anything behind. We're still going to go in with a little bit more water after it's all said and done, but I don't want to fill this up with too much liquid because this blender will start acting a little funny. We want it to act right. So now I'm going to go in with garlic powder. I'm going to eyeball about a teaspoon of garlic powder. Like I said, you could use fresh, but I didn't have fresh. So we're using powder today, and it's going to accomplish the goal for us. And then I'm going to go in with, what is this? About a teaspoon and a half of the broth. So I just did a heaping teaspoon here of the broth concentrate. And this is going to be our major source of salt in this as well. There is definitely salt in this broth concentrate. So we are going to just start with this to start. And then once we get everything blended together, we will do a taste test to see what our salt level is at. And then if we need to add more salt, we can later. But teaspoon and a half of our broth concentrate. Okay, looking good. And then we're going to go in with our lime juice. Okay. I'm just going to use my reamer here. These are nice, juicy limes I have today. I don't even need the reamer, honestly. So we're just going to squeeze these on in. Like I said, this is going to add some brightness, some tang. It's going to complement the sweetness of the corn and the creaminess of the coconut milk. So getting our flavors balanced. We have delicious aromatics here, but we want the corn and the coconut to shine. We want the recipe, the namesake of the recipe, to be the clear, prominent flavors here. So everything else is just trying to assist it with that, right? So getting our lime juice in here, nice and squeezed out. I try to get all the pulp in and everything, especially in situations like this, because I'm about to blend it until it's smooth, you know? So get it all in there. Okay, beautiful. Good. All right, so now we're going to just put our lid on tightly. And I'm going to start this blender. And while the blender is going, I'm going to start dicing up my jalapeno peppers. So let's get this started. Okay, so I got my jalapenos started on the slice. I cut them into thin strips. I took out the ribs from them, but I'm not that worried about the seeds. If some seeds are in there, that's okay. One of them smelled kind of neutral, but there's some heat coming off my fingers on one of these. So I think we're going to get some good kick in here. Be careful. Be careful when you're cutting hot peppers. Don't touch your face. Don't touch your skin. It will burn, right? So be careful. Be mindful of that. All right, so we've got our corn coconut broth base blended up beautifully. Coconut broth base blended up beautifully. Yes. So it's nice and smooth. I don't know. Let's taste it. Tastes really good. Ooh, that lime, that coconut, that corn, delicious. So we're going to turn our heat up, and then we're going to go ahead and just pour this on in to our saucepan here. Ooh-wee. Looking good. Okay, so now I can gently stir this a bit, and I'm going to crank this heat up at this point. Now that this broth is in here, it's time for these potatoes to really cook down. Because I mean, honestly, that's really the main thing that needs to cook in this recipe. I mean, the tofu really just needs to heat through to be done. The corn just needs to heat through to be done. It's really that. It's really the potatoes that need to cook until tender. So we got that heat popped up a bit. I'm going to take just a little bit of water here, just so I can shake this up, get any of the remnants out of our blender cup here, and pour that in. We're living a little dangerously though, because the sauce pot is getting full. All right, nice shaky shake. But I like this. It's going to very much end up on the thick and creamy side, which is what you want a good chowder to be, thick and creamy. And it has that soft, almost buttery yellow color. It just looks comforting. So yes, we've got our chowder base going. I'm going to give that one more stir just to get acclimated. Okay, make sure there's nothing sticking to the bottom of the pan. Okay. Nice creamy golden soup here. Okay. So that's delicious. The acid on that is really nice. I can taste that the ginger is still developing. Yes, we're off to a very strong start. It's probably going to need a little bit of sea salt later, but like I said, I want to bring this to like a very strong simmer before I add any salt in. So I'm going to go ahead and finally cut up this jalapeno. And as always, adjust to your preferred spice level. Thai food is spicy. As a rule, Thai food is pretty spicy. But, and well, not but, and I cannot handle those spice levels personally. I'm always mild or no spice, because even if you say no spice usually at a Thai restaurant, it's gonna be some heat in there. You know, it's gonna be a little kick of something. So I'd rather say mild or get some chilies on the side rather than just let them go for it, because it's a little hot for me. So if you like the spice, go for it. I've seen people use different types of chilies, like red chilies. I'm just using jalapeno because that's what I have. So you could definitely pick a hotter variety of chili if you really want that to have a little bit more kick. Go for it. And then we're just going to add these on into our pot. Let me give it another stir just to get everything incorporated, because those jalapenos are definitely going to infuse with this broth as it cooks. Okay. And it's kind of foamy right now, but the foam is going to cook off a bit. It's mainly foam from just like the friction of the blending at high speed. So that's going to chill. And so while we continue to have this cook and heat up, we're going to take our grater back out and we're going to shred our carrots. Right, I'm a lefty, but I'm kind of ambidextrous, so I always have to get oriented to see which direction. So I'm going to hold this. All right, let's go. Carrot time. If you want to do this a faster way, you can put this in the food processor, or food processors, they'll oftentimes have like that shredder attachment. You could use that as well. And this can be done in seconds. But I mean, seconds, minutes. You know, I'm already using the grater, so it's no great inconvenience. I always struggle though, because I want to get every single piece of carrot grated, right? And I, in the past, have like nicked my finger, so fight that urge, be safe, safety first. And usually what I do when I get to this point is I'll just put it to the side and then just like chop the rest, because I can't leave any behind. So I didn't say this before, but these are 2 medium carrots, and I washed them, I scrubbed them, I peeled them prior to grating them. So I mean, if you get your carrots clean, sometimes I skip the peeling part, but the skin on these ones was a little bit tough in some areas, so I just went ahead and peeled them off. It's getting warm over here, so I know the soup is heating up, and I'm starting to see a light steam on the lid. So like I said, we just want to bring this to a strong simmer. I cut the potatoes pretty small too, and another reason I cut them small is because I wanted them to cook faster. So that is definitely something to think about as you are preparing your recipe, is just thinking about cook time and how can everything basically be done at the same time. So as I layered my ingredients into the pot, I was adding them in the order of how long they were going to need to take to cook in order to have everything finished at the same time. So got our shredded carrot here, looking beautiful. All this beta carotene. Okay. All right, so we got that done. My workspace is a bit of a mess. It doesn't actually look as bad on camera as it does in real life. So we're going to keep it pushing. And like I said, I can't leave anything behind. So I'm just going to chop these last little bits up so I can throw them in the pot as well. And that's also the importance of cooking on a clean worktop, because if you get stuff on your countertop, you can just sweep it up and add it on in because everything's clean. Okay. All right. And we're seeing the bubbles starting to form here. They're just about to push through. Let's see what this simmer got going on. Let's see here. Keep that carefully. All right, so got our carrots in here. Lovely. And because these are shredded, these are going to cook super fast. Once again, they can go in at the end. We want them to retain just a bit of their firmness. We don't want these to be mushy, but at the same time, yeah, it's really not going to take them long to cook all the way through. So it's just about adding in. So if you're the type who likes to prepare all your ingredients in advance, you can totally do that. But if you have a little bit of strategy when you're cooking, you can layer your pot as you go, and then you spend a little bit less time because you're prepping as you're cooking. It doesn't work with every recipe, but it definitely works with stuff like stews and soups and chowders most of the time. Okay. All right. I want to be more creative and get you guys some interesting views when I'm doing these cooking demos. So I've been thinking about how can I do that. And I was actually watching a YouTube video this weekend, and the chef, he was preparing something in his kitchen, and he had a camera strapped to his body, so it was like POV cooking. So if I can figure out that setup, I think that could be cool, because I could just be standing at my cooktop, and then you guys can kind of be seeing what I'm seeing, and then you'll also be able to see me from the front. So let me know if you're interested in the comments in something like that. Are you interested in some POV views added into these cooking demos? Because I feel like you get the gist of what's going on this way, but you can't really see the detail. Like, you're not seeing what I'm seeing right now. I feel like that would add so much more to the experience. So, all right. With that said, I'm going to let that go. Well, actually, let me go ahead and taste this. I'm going to taste this again right now. This is a good time to see if it needs more salt. And then after I salt it, I'm going to let this basically come up to a full rolling simmer. And once that simmer is going, we can start prepping our little garnishes. So let's see what we got here. Delicious, neat salt. Ooh, but that jalapeno is starting to come through. So something like a quarter teaspoon here. We'll do this gradually. Okay. Okay. That's good. I'm going to go in with a similar amount of sea salt again. Okay, get that nice and stirred into the pot. And I'm really going to have to keep my eye on this because this pot is so full. And if it bubbles up, that foam is going everywhere. So remind me, don't let this go. If you see me not paying attention, say, Jessica, check your pot. That would be nice, actually, if you all could do that. And actually, there is a way to do that. If you're ever checking out one of my demos live, you can join the broadcast and take a seat at the chef's table so we can chat with each other while I'm cooking up this demo. All right, so let's try again. Let's see. I think we're good. We're good on the salt. Tasting really good. Okay, I'm going to put this lid back on. And now let's chop up some cilantro. Okay. So like I said, I just have fresh cilantro here. This gives it a really clean, herby flavor that is once again going to add just another layer of flavor here. And we're going to garnish this. We're going to garnish our chowder with this. So this will go on at the very end. So I'm just doing a very rough chop. I like it to be pretty leafy. I don't like it too finely minced. Okay, so we got our delicious, let's see, let's crank it up. And then we got our avocado. Like I said, just for garnish, this is totally personal preference thing. If you're not into it, skip it. If you love it, do it. Okay. And we're just going to slice this up horizontally, vertically. I don't know, like this. This is a perfect avocado too. I've been having great luck with avocados lately. Or maybe I'm just getting better at gauging when they're ready and how long to wait before I use them. But either way, I'm quite happy. All right, so I'm just going to use my spatula to start to lift these out so they're loosened from the skin. I'm not actually going to take it out this second, but I just want to be ready to do what needs to be done when the time comes. Okay. All right, so we're looking good here. We're looking very, very good. So while this soup continues to come to a simmer, this chowder, I see movement. So I'm taking the lid off because, like I said, I want to keep my eye on this. I do not want this to bubble over without my knowledge. Let's get our garnish plated nicely. Okay. And then I'm going to just set up my station for serving since that's really what we're waiting on here. So I'm going to clean up my station a little bit. Okay. Do a quick little wipe down. Okay, perfect. And then I have just a little staging we're going to do because we can. So I have my little bowl here. Do that like that. Okay. All right, looking pretty good. All right, so while we allow this to cook, it's probably going to take about 5 more minutes to cook. So not bad for a whole pot of chowder. That's pretty quick in my book. Like I said, you can shave time off of the cooking process with a few different strategies, like prepping some of your ingredients and chopping in advance. Or you could use, honestly, this is a great leftover soup. I've made this from leftovers a lot of times where I've had like leftover baked potatoes and tofu that's already ready to go. I mean, really, that's the main things that actually need pre-prepping. After that, it's just a matter of bringing it up to a simmer to let all the flavors combine. But one thing I will say is true is this soup is a little bit different than other soups I make. It's amazing fresh. A lot of times with stews and things that are made, especially with beans and legumes, for some reason they always taste a little bit better the next day. But this one is amazing fresh out of the pot the first day. It also holds up really well in the fridge, which is why I made such a good batch size because this is going to be my lunch for the next several days. Obviously, it's dinner tonight, but it's going to be my lunch for the next several days. So that's going to be good. And it's just still a very balanced, very, very balanced meal. So it has your corn and your tofu, carrots, ginger, onion, garlic. So it has all these delicious ingredients, you know, healthy carbohydrates, great sources of plant-based protein. You're getting your healthy fats from your avocado and your coconut milk in this stew slash this chowder, excuse me. And then obviously I love to serve stuff like this up with even more veggies. So to eat this with like some, I don't know, some spinach. Sometimes I'll even like take fresh leafy greens, like really finely chopped kale or chopped spinach, and I'll chop them up and put them fresh in the bottom of my bowl. And then I'll ladle this on top, and it wilts it and it just melts perfectly into the stew. So it's really delicious that way. Bean sprouts, any leafy greens are delicious with this. Eat it with some pickled cucumbers on the side. I mean, you can eat it however you like, but these are some of the things I like. But it's also, like I said, just delicious on its own. It's so, so, so good. It's a great meal prep. And it's got sweetness, some tang, all those delicious aromatic flavors, but just really clean and really simple. And basically, I think part of the reason I loved it so much when I had it first time, because it really wasn't like any soup or chowder I'd ever had before. You know, soups tend to be, in my experience, I experienced soups as either being like kind of bland or like super, super, super seasoned. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of why I associate it with cool weather. Not so much like the heat in the broth, but like just how much seasoning, like in a chili or something like that. I associate like heavier use of spices with cooler weather because like all those spices are warming. So they like warm up your tongue, they warm you up on the inside. But it's just bright, fresh, and simple. So lovely. So our boil's looking really good. And I'm going to take a moment here. Actually, I have a little bit of broth on this little spoon. I don't like to waste, so if I can use up something that's left behind, I will. So I'm just stirring that in here to get the last bit of broth off of our measuring spoon. Nicely done. And then I'm going to stir up our chowder here, see how it's doing. Because like I said, basically all we're waiting on is for these potatoes to cook. And blending some of that corn, that cup of corn with the coconut milk, you know, corn is starchy. So as it heats, it's going to thicken. So it's going to give it that nice, rich, creamy, lightly thickened broth that makes it a chowder and not just a soup. So I love just blending up the corn and experimenting just to see what you can derive from one plant. Like, you know, we use all these products, and obviously, like when you look at foods and you look at ingredients, so many of the ingredients in foods you wouldn't necessarily recognize, but they're derived from plants. And, you know, so there's a lot of versatility that you can glean from just using the plant itself in different ways. And as I talk about this, I'm kind of reminded of a pie that I made this past summer. I was at my granddad's house and I wanted to make basically like a pineapple coconut tart, like, you know, a no bake pie with a custard base. And I just assumed he would have cornstarch at his house, and he didn't. And so instead of me going to the store to buy something, he had grits. Grits are corn, you know, they're a corn based thing. So what I did is I took the grits and I cooked them till they were done. And then I added them to the blender with the coconut milk and I strained it out, basically strained the grit from the grits. So I just extracted that cornstarch from the grits, and it was so delicious. The flavor was so much richer than using cornstarch. It thickened beautifully. It really just added like this flavor that I couldn't describe to this pineapple coconut pie. It's probably the best it's probably the best pie I've ever made. And so just like, you know, you can be resourceful with the ingredients in your kitchen. It's great to have cornmeal and polenta and grits and cornstarch and all these things, but sometimes all you need is the corn. You know, sometimes all you need is the grits, and then you just figure out what process you need to apply to get to the result that you're looking for. So I would definitely say that's one of my favorite parts about cooking is just discovering, I don't know, like the skill sets to actually achieve at the destination you want to in terms of flavor and texture and all these things. And ultimately, when you're willing to experiment and explore these type of strategies, you end up with something oftentimes better than you could have expected, because how could you prepare for the outcome if you've never experienced it before, you know? So that's me waxing poetic over corn and pie and corn chowder. So let's check out this. I just want to check a potato to see how they're doing. I feel like they're going to be, actually, they might be right there. Let's see. We're there. It's time. Let's go ahead and make a nice bowl of this sweet corn chowder, okay? So we have our bowl here. I have my ladle. Let's serve it up. So first of all, before I add more in, I just want you to see the components of the sweet corn chowder here. Oh, so bright. We've got those vibrant carrots. We've got the potatoes, the tofu, jalapeños, obviously the sweet corn. All of this just sitting together in the bowl. And like I said, this is a nice hearty bowl of chowder here. Plant-based and delicious, okay? So do one more ladle so you can see some of that texture. Okay, so we've got our bowl of sweet corn coconut chowder here. And now it's time to top it off. So I'm going to go in with a nice generous pinch of our cilantro. Let me pull this out here. Nice generous pinch of the cilantro, maybe a little bit more. And then we're just going to top it off with the avocado because we can. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but I think it tastes amazing. It like just takes that creamy texture and flavor to the next level. So I'm going to just take about 4 slices here and sit them in the center. Star of the show. You know what would be nice on here too? Sesame seeds. So take a couple sesame seeds, sprinkle those on top. And it's time to eat this amazing chowder. So I'm going to swoosh this over just a little bit to be safe. Okay. And then we're just going to go with our spoon and get a nice spoonful of this delicious, creamy sweet corn chowder. It has that jalapeno, that ginger, and that lime juice in there. So we're expecting a little bit of acid, a little bit of heat, a little bit of kick, you know, some herbaceousness. So here we go. So, so, so delicious. Ooh. Jalapeno got me. Okay, yeah, there's some spice in those. Whew. So good though. This balance of flavors is lovely. Very clean, very light. Perfect for a dinner, but obviously amazing to pack the next day for lunch. Because sometimes when I eat cooked food at work, if it's too rich or hearty, I get a little sleepy, you know, midway through my workday. So this is something that's going to comfort you and satisfy you, but it's not going to weigh you down. I absolutely love this chowder. I hope you will give it a try. And I hope you're eating well. And until then, I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.